Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. Are you ready to make artificial intelligence work for you? Today, David De Cremer will help us decide. David, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Bill. It's my pleasure.
David, you've written a book, The AI for Artificial Intelligence, The AI Savvy Leader. How would you define something like AI Savvy Leader?
It's a good question. And I can say right away, it goes beyond mere coding experience. So it's not simply limited to you need to write code and you need to be a computer scientist. It's completely not that. It's more about, can you understand AI in terms of what its abilities are and what its limitations are? So the philosophy behind AI Savvy Leader is really AI is a tool to be used to create value. And the way I look at value in today's world is it's in service of humans. It's to make humans actually better humans, smarter humans. So artificial intelligence is in service of human intelligence. So if you're going to use AI as a tool, I'm not asking you to be able to code, to develop it. We have the tech companies for this. You want to use the tool in a way that it creates value for you in your life, for your company, for society. And there you have to understand, what is it that AI can do? And once you know, like, okay, this is what AI can do. For example, it's very good at routine tasks. So it can make you more efficient in producing certain things. Like, for example, with ChatGPT, you can produce an essay already. You can produce certain content. That's where you try to automate. But of course, you need to do something with the content that ChatGPT produced. So that's where you go to work with your human intelligence, because you know what your goals are. You know who your audience is. You modify it. So being an AI savvy leader is also about collaboration. It's about AI and humans working together. So I always say, once you understand the strengths of AI, you can align it with your goals. Second thing, once you know the limitations of AI, you also know where your human intelligence can be used and where you can devote more time to these tasks, because that's where you work as a human, whereas AI works on the other things that it's good at, and it doesn't have those limitations.
Now, early in your book, I took a quote and you say that leaders lack the right mindset, willingness, and motivation to be an AI or artificial intelligence model. Can you explain what that really means in the day-to-day world? Because these guys and women are really smart people running companies. We know that. They've got a lot of responsibility, anywhere from maybe 50 to 75 to thousands of people under them, maybe even more. What is lacking in the way they're handling it?
Well, that exact statement is one of the reasons why I wrote the book. So in my consultancy and also teaching executives when I'm developing executive education courses at the university, I've noticed there's a trend there. Yes, every company realizes I need to adopt AI. So basically, you could even say the biggest risk today is not using AI. So of course, every company is jumping on it because they don't want to lose their competitive edge. They want to get more innovation because of AI. So they sign in. There's a fear of missing out if you don't do it. Now, this introduces a big challenge because most business leaders, and like you said, many of them have been successful, but when they were trained and educated, no one was talking about AI in their curriculum. So they're not very AI savvy. They don't really understand what AI is about, what it can do. And once you understand what it can do, then you understand how it can help you to achieve your goals. So they don't have that savviness. And what I've noticed is, yes, we need AI, but I don't understand it. So they're facing a conundrum. The conundrum is, I have to adopt this AI for my company while at the same time trying to understand it. And that's their difficult challenge. So what I see a lot is that business leaders, they know I don't want to miss out on it. So I make sure the budgets are there. But once AI and the equipment, the infrastructure arrives, I delegate right away to the tech experts. So I'm not involved in the transformation process, which should happen, that people start using AI and create value. And that's a problem, because I've noticed that business leaders are absent in the whole AI adoption process. And the result is that up to 87% of digital transformation projects today fail. So we're not creating any value with AI in businesses. And the reason why is business leaders are not involved. And this is a big, big problem, because tech experts, our IT departments, are they trained to ask the right business questions? Do they understand the business challenges? Mostly not. They're not trained like this. But the responsibility is delegated right away to them to make the AI adoption a success. And that's a problem. So you need business leaders who are participating, asking the right business questions, and are AI savvy enough to tell the tech experts, look, we have this AI. I know this is what it can do. And that's how you have to use it to solve these business questions. And you give me that information so I can make my decisions. If you can play that role, aligning AI comprehension with your organizational purpose, the goals you want to serve, the audience you want to serve, and make that clear to the tech experts, you can create value. If they're not involved, very little value is created.
And I want to admit, as I started reading your book, I would have made that exact mistake, because I thought, oh, okay, just bring the tech people in, ask them what they think is the best solution or way to work this, or introduce something. And of course, to our audience who obviously may not know this already, you are the dean of a major business school at Northeastern University. Am I correct?
Yes.
So you're out there in the market with the people, as well as working with businesses, et cetera, and you have these young minds to tell them, because this is what they're going into.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're trying to do at the business school, is preparing our future leaders that they have an AI savviness, can use it as a tool, understand it as a tool, but at the same time, they're trained as business leaders. They know the organizational purpose. They know the goals. So they can build a strategic alignment between using AI and producing value in business, which tech experts are not trained for. But of course, this is, to your earlier point, yes, everyone would make the mistake. Of course, I delegated right away to tech experts, but this is the key message as well. Any AI adoption process is more about humans than it is actually about technology.
Really? Okay. And again, I would have gotten that wrong. So if you gave me a test in one of your classes, I'd be one of your failures, or you'd send me to one of the other schools. So now, I know in the book you mentioned there are two perspectives about bringing artificial intelligence into an organization. Can you tell us what those are and which is the one we want to follow?
There's two perspectives. And in the meantime, I've started to refer to that difference between, do you build an AI-driven culture or an AI-enabling culture? And that's a big difference. AI-driven or AI-enabling. So AI-driven means basically I'm adopting AI from a cost-cutting perspective. It seems like AI, and especially generative AI like ChatGPT, seems human-like. I'm talking like to my computer as if I'm talking to a human being. So from a business point of view and a maximizing point of view, you can say, wow, AI is so much cheaper. I'm reducing costs here. So I'm looking at automation. I'm trying to automate as much as possible because it makes the operational process much cheaper. That's one way. And this means that you equate AI with human intelligence, meaning you have the implicit assumption artificial intelligence is actually the same as human intelligence. We're talking about the same intelligence, and AI has caught up with humans. So basically, I don't need humans anymore. An AI-enabling culture actually looks at it differently. It says like, AI has certain abilities, but it has certain limitations that humans can fill in. For example, AI is not an active participant in your context. So if you would tell me a joke, I would understand the context, but AI would not necessarily understand the context and will not say it's funny, whereas I would say it's funny. But it may be because you and I have common friends and I know what it was about. AI doesn't see this. If you don't give AI the facts, it will not be able to infer the reality. It's not sensitive to context. So you see, this is where a human is as an advantage. Now, we want to bring the strengths of humans and AI together because that's where you're going to create more value. You're going to be able to use AI as a tool to achieve your goals in a better, more optimal way. And that's what we call augmentation. So you almost have automation versus augmentation.
David, before we go further, I'd like to let our audience know if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Our guest today is David De Cremer. He is the author of The AI Savvy Leader. And David, we're going to ask you, is there a website where we can learn more?
You can go to www.daviddecremer.com.
And I'm just going to spell that for our audience. De Cremer is DeCremer. And we'll ask you that again later in the show, so if someone didn't get it down, they can pick it up then. As you were answering the last question, I was just thinking, do any companies sit there and make a decision, and it can be even not the busiest or most hectic, and then put it through AI to see how the AI computer, for most of us, like a sporting event would be, what should be the batting lineup and who should be the pitcher. We put that in, here's our version, and then AI comes back and says, change that and put David batting second, or let him bat cleanup and let Bill be the pitcher, or something like that. Do any companies do things that way?
Well, yeah, and they should. And that's okay, because AI, of course, works on data. And we know that the more data you have, ChatGPT, and that's also one of the reasons why a lot of people say, hey, where do you get all the data from? As an author, I could say, well, you're probably violating my copyright because it's probably in the database of ChatGPT already. But they're scraping the internet, all the data. So you want to know the data. It's like in the movie Moneyball, where they introduced the first time using the data of players. The same thing. Of course, we use it. But you have to realize one thing. You cannot have your company driven by data only, and especially not data without a story. What do I mean by data without a story? You as a business leader, you have a purpose of your organization. You're in the business for a reason. And that's the why question. Why are you in this business? What is it that you want to achieve? So you have your goals. You have your different stakeholders. So you have a strategy because you want to make sure that the interests of the stakeholders are served and that you achieve your purpose. Now, that's your knowledge as a human. With that knowledge as a human, you have to look at the data. Yeah, and you can generate and see like, look, the strategy we want to employ, does that make sense? That's where your tech experts are going to be. And they say, okay, what are your questions? Again, this is why leaders need to be involved. They say, these are my questions. Then tech experts can decide, do we have the right kind of data to answer those questions? Because a lot of companies are sitting on data that are not necessarily the right kind of data to answer your specific questions. So they go out, they check whether they have the right data, and they come up with answers. Now, you use that information to make decisions. But here's a trick. You cannot say, oh, the data have revealed this, and this is the decision I make, because then you're just following the data. You add your story to it. You add the organizational purpose to it. And you can compare it to, you look at data, but at one point you also stop looking at data and you make a judgment call. That's how reality works. And only a human being can make a judgment call. AI does not have an opinion. So you make that judgment call, which is based on, again, your purpose, the goals you want to achieve, and the interests you want to serve. So this is where you see the collaboration coming together. So of course you use AI. You use the data, you use the insights, but at the end of the day, as a business leader, you have to make the judgment call. And that's where your authentic goals come into play.
AI is relatively new in the picture for people. It's easy in baseball because we just want to make the most runs. So if I get a new batting order or a new pitcher, that's something easy to put in. But a CEO of a company, the president, they have to think of the shareholders. They have to think of the employees. It might be easy to say fire everybody right after Christmas because nobody's going to be in the stores in January and February or compared to the Christmas rush. But then again, you have to go out and get new employees, et cetera, et cetera. Does the AI keep all this in? Is it learning just as a new CEO would learn? And after 2 or 3 years of doing this, it's almost replacing the CEO?
Well, yeah, I know what you're hinting on. New York Times not too long ago published an article, AI can be your next CEO. So I'm saying no, it cannot be your next CEO. You're right with respect to the first part. Yes, AI learns. So let's just use ChatGPT. Everyone knows this. So basically, ChatGPT, if you think about it, needs a human. Why does AI need a human here? Well, you need to define the question. I've referred to that a few times. You need to ask the questions. Without a question, ChatGPT is not going to work. It checks and provides a response. Your task as a human is, in addition to asking the question, is also editing what has been generated and interpreting it. Is this relevant, the information that has been generated? Can I use that information? If I use it, in what way? To which goal is it relevant? So in that sense, humans are important to give an input and important to interpret the output. But of course, so that's data analysis. Where it starts learning AI is when you give other prompts. Once you had the response, you can ask more specific feedback and say, now imagine that you're the CEO of this company, or your shareholders are asking this, or these stakeholders or society. So you start specifying. And this is what we call a reinforcement principle. Now ChatGPT starts to learn from the questions that you're asking. So it's getting that information. And this is where OpenAI, as producing the ChatGPT, everyone's going to start benefiting in society because ChatGPT is always updated. So it's learning there. And that's useful. Now, is it going to be a CEO? No, for two reasons, I would say. ChatGPT keeps producing knowledge, but it's still knowledge that's based on the past or in the moment, in the most advanced models in the moment, real time, based on the reinforcement principle where you're asking questions and the ChatGPT is giving answers. But as a leader, you often have to anticipate, be proactive, look on the long term. That means you have to be able to imagine scenarios, business scenarios. You have to imagine future challenges. That requires critical thinking, meta thinking, and bringing it all together in a bigger picture. Because AI doesn't understand context, it cannot infer bigger pictures. So the anticipating qualities that a human has, AI doesn't have yet. And that's what a CEO needs. The second thing is that why AI can be the CEO is the ethical reason. Because AI cannot make a judgment call. AI is supposed to be neutral, is based on data, is objective as much as possible based on the data it has. It has no intentions. So as a company, not every company is the same. Some companies will say, we serve these interests, and that's what my ethics, my purpose is. So that judgment call is colored by the goals and the values that you select for your company. That is an opinion. AI doesn't have an opinion. Related to it, as a CEO, you also have to be careful that you just don't take blindly what an AI says. Exactly because it doesn't have these human features, and we know ChatGPT sometimes hallucinates. So there's also a moral obligation not to have a machine lead an organization. Think about it. If a machine leads an organization, what kind of culture have you installed? A culture of machine, which leads to asking people to think like a machine. That's not the world we want to live in. That's not the way you want to do business.
There's so many questions. Just as you're talking, I'm thinking, and I've got to keep them in my mind for a list because there's so many things I want to ask you. Before we do go further, though, I want to let our audience know, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Our guest today is David De Cremer. He is the author of The AI Savvy Leader. And David, once again, we're going to ask you for that website.
My website is www.daviddecremer.com.
Now, and this is a hypothetical. Suppose a company has a major legal issue, and legal expenses both are long range today and they're very expensive. Hiring a firm to come in and someone claims they've stolen their copyright rights or used their product illegally, something like that. Could those facts be put into a AI computer program, so to speak, and come back with I'm going to say maybe an 82 or 89% chance of what the court would come back with? Or does it need to see, like the court would, the witnesses, the expert witnesses, etc.?
That's a good question, because we've seen recent examples in the courtroom where ChatGPT was used, judge was using it. So it's happening in real time now. So we need to reflect on it. We need to be critical about it. Yes, it can, because AI at the moment I think the most advanced model, and the reason why I keep emphasizing advanced is, don't forget, AI takes a lot of data, a lot of energy, a lot of electricity, a lot of chips, a lot of infrastructure. Most companies cannot have the most advanced forms of AI. I just want to stress this. But if you have a very advanced form that some of the big 5 tech companies will have, like the Amazons in the world, Meta, then that AI can probably get past the bar. So basically get their license, because he would succeed in that exam. Now,
an AI computer could pass the bar exam?
Yes, at the moment. The most advanced model is able to pass it. Now, these are exam questions. Now, let me tell you what happens in reality. So that means, yes, you can use ChatGPT, because they can come up, for example, with case studies instead of you looking it up and wasting a lot of time before you find the right case that would be an exception to what is happening to all the other cases. ChatGPT can help you. But we've also seen cases where lawyers have done this, and because ChatGPT hallucinates, meaning it comes up with references that don't exist sometimes, they used that case in court, and then it was found out that case didn't exist. So you want to check and verify. This is why I was saying earlier, when ChatGPT generates something based on your question, you still have to edit, verify, and interpret. So, and why is this so important? To avoid this, of course, that you're using something that is not true in defense of your client, for example. It's also, if that happens, of course, your reputation is harmed as a lawyer or a judge if they know they're using this. Because this is interesting. Research shows that when a decision has been made or information has been generated and influenced the decision, more people don't see that decision and that information as authentic. And people value authenticity, especially in the legal case. They want to know that it was executed and verified by humans, authentic humans, because we are society. AI is not society. So this is a belief. In our justice system, we are society. It's done and evaluated by humans. And humans have an authentic intelligence. They can see this is a sense of justice. AI is not perceived by people as being authentic. So if and this was what happened in the last case with a judge here in the US who used ChatGPT, he was criticized from all angles, because basically they were afraid that his judgment was based on what AI was saying. I just made clear AI doesn't have a judgment, and a judgment call is seen as authentic in respect to social justice. So this is a problem then. So yes, you can use ChatGPT. Yes, you can use AI, but the final decision lies with a human. And you will always have to show, especially in legal cases, that you've only used that information as an input and then went through the whole verification process as our social justice system would demand, done by a human.
It seems very interesting, because just on that concept, at least that kind of levels the playing field for the average person, so to speak, if they're suing against a large corporate entity or some group that has more money than they would ever even come close to, and of course with legal expenses, et cetera, et cetera. When you're working with both students and businesses, do you ever think that it might be good for president of a company or a CEO to almost have a AI assistant, so to speak? That meaning, I'm going to say a younger person who's taken your classes to show that executive how the AI could be used, and maybe even like yourself as a consultant to come in and say, this is how you could use it in these scenarios, and I'll see you next year and we'll go over some new problems. Would that be a way for a CEO to kind of catch up and learn how to use this better?
Yes, and that's also what we're doing for both our students and for our corporate clients, because it fits with what I said earlier. AI is a tool. So you're using it as a tool here. So that's a great question, and it's a great example. So with respect to students in education, some of the applications that we're looking to in our business school at the Moore McKim School of Business at Northeastern University, we're looking at AI bots. So bots who basically can talk because of the large language models with students in, for example, preparing their presentations. So they provide information, they provide suggestions on how to better structure. You can ask all these things. So that's already a great way, and it helps a professor because a professor doesn't have to devote time on that anymore. So he or she can devote time on what is important. Once their presentation is ready and it's optimized in collaboration with AI, student will be much better to clarify what he or she means, where then the professor can say like, wow, high quality content, let's right away work on developing this further. So that's a great way of assisting. For corporates, for CEOs, it's the same thing. Yes, you can look at most recent information already because it can help that you ask better questions. Remember, I said earlier, business leaders need to be involved in any AI adoption process because they need to tell tech experts, what are the business questions that I need to see answered? Is it the question that I want to see who likes my product? Or is it the question, well, I want to see which customers I have already are most likely to walk away? These are questions that business experts ask. But you can already refine them by using AI as an assistant, or simply in writing emails. They can help you structure this, and you can move on much quicker in providing feedback. Because as a CEO, you don't have much time to basically analyze. But again, the final evaluation is still interpreting the output of what an AI has generated.
David, I think we're at an exciting point in history, and you're the professor and the dean, so you even have a greater role. But I think this is one of those, literally a chapter in the history books as it shows how things have changed over the decades and the centuries. Before we wrap up again, I want to tell our audience the book is The AI Savvy Leader by our guest, David De Cremer, DeCremer. And David, the website one more time.
www.daviddecremer, all in one word, .com.
David, thanks for being with us today. I'd like to let our audience know that you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at the same time when we will continue our journey to success.